Test. Oh, yeah, that looks like we're good. Okay. I'm Phil Wyman, and this is the Wild Theology podcast, where the world, the humans in it, and God are all wilder than we've been told.
That's your intro.
So, you'll get philosophy and theology and crazy stories that come from 30 years of pastoring.
Boring.
20 years of festival work.
Whatever.
And the mud and blood of wrestling with the living in the spaces angels fear to tread.
Ooh, trying to sound interesting, are we? Yeah, you think you got something to say?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the problem, dimwit.
Like I'm a lot smarter than you think.
Yeah, you tightened your shoes this morning.
Whatever. We're Phil Wyman, and this is Wild Theology, where you get to argue with your own ideas.
And lose.
That's the point. If you would like to support this podcast, you can do so by going to patreon.com/Phil Wyman. Okay, this is episode number 41 of Wild Theology, and I am with Alexandr Sasha Flek. And he has been a pastor in Prague 2 different times in the 90s, and then for like 7 years more recently.
Yeah, both times 7 years.
And publisher with Biblion.
Yes.
And a translator of works from English or other languages as well.
Some
Czech.
Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, which happens when you translate the Bible.
I don't know what to do with smart guys like you. Man, that's it. I'm going to have to shut this episode down.
No.
I'm not talking to you anymore.
Come on. Go out.
And also helps organize Meziprostor, which is the festival I just came from. And so we're going to talk about life and mission in the Czech Republic and what people think about Christianity here, and kind of why you do Meziprostor and why you do it like you do it, because I don't like many Christian festivals. And Meziprostor is kind of like some Christians run this thing that's not quite Christian, but it also has deep Christian spirituality.
Yeah.
And people who aren't Christians are terribly comfortable there.
Yeah.
I mean, is that the thing most Christian festivals do? No.
but yeah, the thing is, this is not a Christian festival. It's like when Christians make shoes or bread or fix cars. I mean, they are not. The result is not necessarily Christian shoes. It's good or bad shoes, right?
Right.
So it's not a Christian festival, and we usually have, most of us who put together the festival, we've been sick and tired of that label, like Christian festival, and so we never wanted to create one, and it's not known as Christian festival, thank God.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I'm comfortable there, I guess.
Yeah, that's why we are comfortable too.
So just kind of give me a rundown of the state of Christianity within the Czech Republic, how people think about God and Jesus and how to
church. Well, so the history of Czech Republic as such is pretty short. We've been called this for just last couple of decades, but our country, of course, has centuries or more than a millennium of history, and we've been called all kinds of things. Before it was Czech Republic, it was Czechoslovakia, together with a neighboring country now, Slovakia. And before that, we were part of Austro-Hungarian Empire. Before that, we were part of the Holy Roman Empire of the German nation, etc., etc. We were parts of all kinds of things. At the beginning, we actually were known as part of the Eastern Europe, which we don't like to be called, because Prague, for instance, Prague lies more to the west than Stockholm or, of course, Vienna. So we consider ourselves Central Europe. Also, we're considered to be Slavic nation because our language is Slavic, and this might be a surprise to some, we're more Celtic and Germanic than Slavic. And there are some specific diseases, for example, that only the Czechs and the Irish share.
Right.
So there's this genetic connection from many centuries ago, when the Celtic tribe of Boy lived here, and that's why it was called first in Latin Bohemia, which became Bohemia.
Yeah.
Bohemia. So Bohemian today has two meanings, coming from what's Czech Republic or living a Bohemian lifestyle, and we try to do both.
Right. And you've got, so speaking of Bohemia, you have both within Bohemia as well as
Moravia.
Yes. You've got these wild Christian histories.
Oh yeah. To make a long story short, basically Reformation started here 100 years before Martin Luther, with John Huss, who was burned at the stake. Yeah. He was a follower of some of John Wycliffe's books and thoughts, and got quite a following here. But of course, that has met with a great resistance from the church structure back then.
The Catholic Church that he was.
All church was Catholic at that time.
Right.
So he was a Catholic too, you could say, just as Martin Luther was Catholic.
Right.
So before he was accused of being a Hussite at this discussion at Worms, the Diet of Worms, he was accused of being a Hussite, and he didn't know exactly what's being meant. So he went to a library and found out, and then he came back and said, "Yes, I'm a Hussite. We're all Hussites." so it all started in this land in a way, and then of course with the ensuing persecution and religious wars, and a 30-year war actually started here and ended here, and the Catholic side has won. And so the population that was over 90% Protestant, now we're speaking 200 years later after Jan Hus or John Hus. Yeah. So we're speaking 1600s. The population was overwhelmingly Protestant, but because of the result of the 30-year war, everyone who could fled, because the winners, they dictated the religion. So this process of counter-reformation, or what we call recatholization, was very brutal. Mass killings and persecutions and burnings of the Bibles and all that. So 200,000 people left the country. All the nobility, all the free men, whoever could, left to be able to practice religion.
And where did they go?
Well, they would go mostly now what's called Poland today, and Germany, and that's how the Moravian church was started. So Moravian again that's a region in what's called Czech Republic today, the eastern part of Czech Republic, and of course they became the first modern missionary movement.
Radical missionary.
Oh yeah, and they had this 100-year-old long prayer meeting.
24 hours a day for 100
24/7 for 100 years, sending missionaries to the 5 continents.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You see Moravian churches today in places I've seen them is in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
The Caribbean islands.
Yeah, I know.
Up in the hills, I run into Moravian.
They went churches, everywhere. Yeah. They would let themselves be sold into slavery in order to bring the gospel to the slaves.
Oh man, somebody like that. That's my hero.
It's hair raising. Yeah. So they were radical. Yeah. So interestingly, you know how Jesus says that the first shall be last.
Yeah.
So I told you Reformation started here a century before Luther. Well, now we are the most atheist place in the world, together with former East Germany, which ironically is also a place where Martin Luther, started working. So the first became the last, I think.
Right.
Christianity is really a fringe phenomenon here. If you ask anyone on the street what their religion is, they will be shocked. If you even ask that.
Right.
It's considered rude. It's as if you ask them about their sex life. So it's very intimate. Very people are very protective about that. And if you force them, they would say, "I'm an atheist." Of course, I'm an atheist. Like everybody's an atheist, right? Like Czechs think every normal, mildly educated person in the world is an atheist, and they get a shock of their life when they get to travel or meet foreigners who do believe in God or gods or in different ways. So Christians comprise only about 10% of the population here. About 5% of population goes to any sort of church at least once a month. And for instance, and of course the Catholic Church is the biggest by far, like 10 times bigger than everything else combined. And for instance, the evangelicals comprise only 0.2% of the population. So the country is 10 million people, the evangelicals would be like 20,000.
Wow.
Yeah, and they all know each other.
So you know all the evangelicals in the country, huh?
Sometimes it feels like that.
Yeah. If you all got together, you'd make a small town.
Yeah.
So, on the other hand, you've written two things, or I should say you did a version of the Bible in Czech, a modern version of the Bible in Czech, and it was a bestseller.
Yeah, it became a number one bestseller, which was it's a crazy story. But
and you also just recently wrote something in the Parabible.
Yes, so
and that's a bestseller too. What's going on? I mean, these things, these don't compute, right?
Because,
say,
I just said it
but everybody's buying the Bible.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't know what to say. But 10 years ago, we finished working on a Bible translation project. Just one, and it was the first in a long, long time. Basically, before that, we only had two versions, two translations available. There were more that took place in the history, but only two were kind of available. Printed. Yes, and so one was 400 years old, like your King James, coming from almost exactly the same year. Ours was 1613, and King James was 1611.
Right.
So a very lofty, powerful, beautiful translation that really made the Czech language in many ways. But of course, very difficult to understand.
Right.
Very poetic and powerful, but you don't get a lot of meaning. So very much like listening to Shakespeare in the original.
Right.
So that was the one, and the other was from 1970s, from the communist times.
Okay.
That's called ecumenical translation. Of course, that one is much more modern and understandable. But for many people, that was not a very good translation.
Right.
Yeah, not very consistent, and doing all kinds of things that, like explaining some things away and this and that. So and also the literary beauty or impact was not really in the translation so present. So many people, including me, who came to Christ at the time of the political changes.
Right.
In 1989, communism collapsed, and it was not just a political change, but also spiritual. And so, like a whole generation suddenly was confronted with news that was too good to be true. The good news.
Right. Yeah, wow.
And many of us came to faith. And we didn't have a translation in our own language.
1989 was like, if I compare it in America, it was like your 1968. It was, that hippie movement, the Jesus People revival.
Yeah.
And you had a bit of that in 1989 when
yes, you could say that.
left.
You could say that.
Because people were free to say,
yes,
I believe now.
Yes. And the gospel was shared in a way that was not possible before because of the persecution. Yeah.
Right.
So we didn't have a translation really in our language, in our modern Czech, and I was bothered with that and bothering God with that in prayer for so long until I felt one afternoon in 1991, his finger pinned me down to that carpet in that church in Sweden where I studied theology at the time.
Right.
And said, like, why do you think you keep having this prayer burden? You know, why do you think this is so heavily?
Stop praying, start working, boy.
Yeah, exactly. Have you been there? Was it you? Yeah, that's what he said. So, and then of course years of preparation and study and
so how long did that take you?
Over 15 years.
15
The
years.
translation on itself. It was not just me, but a very small team. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you released it, and it went to bestseller.
Yes, that was crazy because we didn't know how you publish a Bible. We didn't know where to go to print it because this thin paper, you know, only a few printers in the world can handle it. And so we traveled around, you know, different places. We didn't want to do it in China for different reasons. Like, one is like that printer there, of course, is state controlled, and also we would have no idea how it will come out, right? No control over the process, and so that was out. It would be cheaper, but we didn't go there. So we went to Germany, we went to Netherlands, and there we just found a printer, and we felt like, yeah, it clicked. And so they were not by far the cheapest, but we knew, let's do it with them. And we didn't know they're the best in the world. I was told that later.
You found
later, and and the thing was, we wanted a paperback. We wanted a cheap, you know, or not cheap, but available. I mean, a Bible, affordable Bible. And they said, no, sorry, we don't believe in paperback. No, but we could do a hardcover for you for the price of the paperback.
What?
That was a nice deal. So we said, okay. And so they said, how many you want? And we said 50,000. and they just went silent. And we didn't know you never do this, even for big nations like Russia. You never print 50,000, especially not in the first print run when it's not been tested.
In a language that has a small group of people.
Yeah, but we thought we need 50,000 because then it's cheaper per copy, right? And we thought, I mean, like, we want to reach at least 1 million with this, like, you know, to give a tithe to God, you know, of the population. So let's start with, you know, a batch of 50,000. And they didn't say anything. They didn't tell us you never do this. They were happy to receive an order.
Sure, we'll do 50,000. You can sit with them for years.
That's right. So they didn't tell us you never do this, and we didn't tell them we don't have any money. So that was fair. Yeah, but they were really generous with, you know, down payments and all that. So we hope we will be able to pay paid as it sells during the time. Well, what happened? Those 50,000 lasted 3 weeks.
What?
And we had to order another 50,000 right away. So that was just an amazing explosion. The Bibles were everywhere. Of course, in bookstores, in supermarkets, on the streets. We did like a grand opening with, you know, we didn't have any money to like go, you know, do marketing with, you know, pay advertisement and all that. So we did some guerrilla marketing. We thought of like, okay, let's read the Bible out loud publicly. Let's encourage people to publicly read from the Bible. And so we thought maybe a few places will do that. And it opened for the Easter 2009. And what happened was 83 towns and cities and villages around the country had people on the squares, on the streets, in different places, reading the Bible out loud. And they had boxes of these Bibles available. And people would just tear it from their hands. They sold like cake. So we only sold like 12,000 of them the first weekend over that Easter. 11 of those places read the whole Bible through during the Easter weekend.
What?
3 days and nights, non-stop.
They just trade off people and read it until it was done?
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. And it was 3 weeks and your 50,000 were gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then what did you do? Order another 50,000?
Yeah, exactly. and then some more.
And then some more. Wow. Wow, that's such a great story.
The thing was that for the first time people felt, and that this was our message, that the Bible is not, like the church doesn't have a copyright on the Bible or a monopoly. It's our message was, hey, this is our common cultural heritage.
Right.
If you want to call yourselves a person that, has a basic kind of, education, or you want to call yourself literate, you should get acquainted with this. And like those people on the streets, who took part in the public readings, they never read a Bible in their life. Of course, they've heard about the Bible, they knew about it, but so for the first time they felt like, one, this is for us, and two, this is not made by a church, because there was no denomination was behind this project. It was a grassroots project born from the need of a generation that didn't have a Bible in their own language. So for all those 15 years of translation, we had people all around the country who contributed to this.
Right.
We asked them to pray 1 minute a day for the project and contribute an equivalent of Big Mac menu once a month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how this whole thing was financed. We never borrowed a penny.
The Bible was financed off of people not eating their Big Macs.
Yeah, or whatever, whatever they didn't eat, but just the value,
that's
the
fantastic,
value,
right.
just an idea that okay, I can sacrifice this once a month.
Yeah.
And that's how the whole thing. This is before everything you have now online, all the
Right.
Kickstarters or all these things.
Right.
Yeah, actually, it was almost before internet. Definitely before Facebook and all that.
Right.
It was published in 2009.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a great story. So now, let's go to Meziprostor. Talk about that just a little bit. So this festival, it's in the 5th year?
Yes, this was the first.
Okay, so I've been to 3.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
You're a veteran.
I'm a veteran, yeah. But it's been going for 5 years. And what was the initial thought? We've got some Hussite pastors, yourself,
well, the initial
Catholic priest.
The initial thought was that many of us friends were basically not fitting the church culture, listening to the wrong music or having wrong haircuts. And,
You looking at me?
or me. So many of us were hungry to explore God and Christian faith, but not become part of church subculture.
Right.
I mean, I'm not sure how strong the English word cheesy is, but like we didn't.
It's a perfect fit
Okay.
for what you're talking about.
Okay,
Christian festivals oftentimes feel,
Yeah.
and we use the word cheesy.
Okay. Not just festivals, right? Whatever you put the label Christian on,
Can come
you
across
kill
as
it,
cheesy.
right? Why
Yeah.
should you do that? So, like, U2 is not a Christian band, is it? But they just make
And
great
yet-
music. They just make great music and are very open about their faith. Anyway, so some of us went to different countries, and we would meet in Poland, Germany.
Right.
In Poland, that would be Slout. In Germany, Freakstock. Wonderful festivals, and we also always felt like, oh, we're so behind in the Czech Republic. We don't have anything. We're so few. We're so lame, and
Right.
and then we got tired of that. One summer, when a couple of us met at a festival. That's just amazing. The location is amazing.
Is that slot?
No. This was in here in Czechia.
Czech, okay.
At this mill that our friend Skalak owns.
Okay.
And Skalak is a member of this generation of 1970 hippies, and they were they were the underground here under communist regime. They did the independent culture. They were persecuted for that, and some of them were basically driven out of this country by the communist regime, including Mirek Skalak. And so when he came back, he created an oasis on his land for all the misfits, for all the dissidents, for all the independent people.
It is the greatest place.
It is. It's like a sculpture, right? And it changes every year. It's different. He built something. And
a post-apocalyptic sculpture.
It is. Yeah, it is a sculpture of an estate. And so he built in stages and halls into his house. Into his house, exactly. Into his farm or mill, and so he does this festival for the cultural underground every year, and which is totally like people get, wasted. they go like they party 4 days through, and we went there, a few of us, and we thought, hey, this is the place. Let's materialize our dream here after so many years. And so we talked to him when he was open, and so since 2015 we started to do Meziprostor. It's a difficult word to pronounce, I'm sure, for English speakers. It basically means...
Actually, Meziprostor is easier to pronounce than
some other words.
It doesn't have that R with the little hat over it.
Oh, sure. Yes, that's a special Czech sound. Yes. Yeah. So it means an in-between space.
Right.
In between. And so we felt that that's a fitting word to express the idea that we want to meet in between. We want to come out from our bubbles, get inspired, experience love and acceptance from different subcultures, different religious or non-religious backgrounds, different tastes, and so it started really small, but now it's becoming legions, I think. And the subtitle or the kind of a tagline we use is meeting between the heavens and the underground. Meeting between heaven and underground.
Which the underground has meaning connected to the Velvet Revolution, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It has that meaning. It has the cultural underground meaning, because it's a technical term here in our country.
Right,
underground means like independent culture, basically.
Right. Yeah.
Often illegal.
Right.
And but of course in Czech, when you translate underground into Czech, it also means the underworld, hell.
Yes.
Between heaven and hell.
Right.
So that's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I found coming here, people will tell me, "Oh, the Czech people are not friendly."
Mm-hmm.
And like I've told you, that's not my experience.
I'm glad for that.
This has been for me one of the friendliest places I've ever been to come to.
That's a miracle, I'm telling you. You have a special grace.
Well, but I also think there's something hidden in the heart of the Czech people that maybe I just, because I expect it already, maybe I experience it. I don't know.
Well,
and of course, Meziprostor is part of that experience for me, and everybody there has been absolutely amazing. It feels like a family.
Yeah, that's the miracle of Meziprostor, that people really experience love there, and independent of who they are, how they look, what they believe. And so it's like a dream come true. Of course, we have problems, and it's difficult to, to put it all together with all this anarchist ethos we have. It's all DIY. There's no, we have no money there. People don't have to pay for the entrance. We don't accept any sponsors and no grants. So it's difficult sometimes, and we feel like we can't pull it off. But then again, every year is the best year.
Yeah. So now, statement you just said, It almost needs an entire podcast by itself when I ask this question. Because I tell people that I fall under a category of Christian anarchist.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
And quite frankly, the only nation in the world that understands me well is the Czech Republic.
Okay.
You know, everybody else will think anarchist, Christian. How can you be both of those?
Yeah.
You know, and they're probably thinking I'm making
Yeah.
petrol bombs at a festival, and we're going to go out into the town square and blow things up. So Christian anarchy, what does that look like? The few people in America who might understand it come from like maybe a Mennonite kind of background. Or something.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
But most people don't know what is Christian anarchy and how can it be a peaceful thing.
Well, we don't really use that label as such,
Right.
for different reasons, not just to not come across wrongly, but we just have a problem with labels in general. But I think what it means to us is that we're non-authoritarian. I would say we're Godarchists. Let God rule. And
which was the Bohemian Reformation, right?
That's right. And
writers like Peter Helchitsky,
exactly.
who wrote The Net of Faith. Boy, when I read that, I thought, this is what Christianity is.
I'm so pleased you've read it. It's like we often think nobody reads Czechs, and especially from 1300s or 1400s.
Right.
But yeah, he was one of the first Christian, known pacifists, but before Tolstoy and others.
Right.
But basically, we believe in. I think Jesus came with this idea that the kingdom should be God's,
right.
So we.
And authority was service from the bottom.
That's right.
Not demands from the top.
Yeah. Right. So what do we do? Like on our team, we have people from. Like not everybody's even a Christian on the team that prepares the festival, and we decide things by consensus. We don't vote on things.
Right.
We trust one another, and so who wants to take charge of this, and who wants to so like. For example, I don't speak into musical choices at all. What bands will play? I don't understand that. So I trust others who
you guys
understand.
have great music.
Yeah,
for the size of the festival.
Yeah.
It's absolutely rocking.
I'm glad you think that. Yeah.
All the way from Finnish pirate metal band last year to that. What was the famous band that played this year?
Yeah, we had a band this year that's really becoming known now over the last year.
What's the name of the band?
The name is Povodí Ohře. That's very difficult to translate. Okay. Basically, Ohře is a river in the west of the country.
Oh yeah.
So
right.
It means it's a name of the region they come from.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, he was rocking it.
Oh yeah, I thought it was like magic, but just with the good spirit. I would he was the front man really. He was enchanting.
Oh, he was
in the best way.
And then the more famous band. Their name means something like coming home or.
Oh yeah, už jsme doma. Yeah. We've arrived. You could translate.
We've arrived. Yeah, arrived home.
We came home. Yeah, we're
right.
Yeah.
And they reminded me of, I don't know, like ska bands out of Boston. 20 years ago or something.
Yeah, totally.
They were so tight.
Yeah.
There was great music.
And of course, then we have all styles, electronic and whatever, but. Mostly, the thing is, the bands come just to play there. They're not paid, They get the gas money if they're lucky, and they get the food and beer tickets from us for the time they're there. But
they clearly enjoy themselves.
Yeah, that's why they come, because the place is a legend, and Meziprostor is getting this reputation of, like, you want to go there. Whether you play or not.
You just want to be there. Yeah,
you just want to be there with the music also for some like people like me is just a pretense to get people together. So it's not a musical festival, really. It's a meeting. It's a meeting between heaven and the underground. And it's all about meeting and cross-pollination and inspiring one another. So we have lots of workshops, talks, discussions, and just hanging out together. So you meet people you become friends with for the rest of their life, and it becomes like a pilgrimage, like with many of these festivals, like a yearly coming home.
That's what I keep telling people. This is the new pilgrimage, is festivals, and that's why we need to be there.
And of course, we have a strong spiritual element as well. There are people who pray all through the festival. There's a short word for the day every morning, and then Sunday we have an ecumenical mass.
Well, so I'm going to finish here because we're longer than we usually are, but that's kind of cool. And thank you for making me a part of Meziprostor.
Hey, thank you for coming for the third time, and you're becoming one of the godfathers.
that sounds like something from the mafia.
Well, I know. Aren't we God's mafia on this earth?
I suppose we are. So, this is Alexandr Sasha Flek, and Meziprostor happens in what was it, the third weekend?
Third weekend of July. Yeah.
And you can find it online, and I think you want to come because it's awesome. And this is for my buddies Charles and Chris from Jew and Gentile podcast, A Jew and a Gentile Walk into a Bar Mitzvah. So Sasha is smoking it's the Ashton VSG Maduro Perfecto, and it's just a beautiful cigar. And we've got a Talisker single malt Scotch whiskey. And the cigar I'm smoking, the band came off somewhere and I can't find it. And it's this funny, rough, long thing that it looks like it was rolled in a barn in Kentucky somewhere. And it just really is a nice cigar. And Big Sasha, son of Small Sasha.
no, it used to be Big Sasha and Small Sasha. Now it's changed into Big Sasha and Old Sasha.
He's definitely taller than you. So we'll call him Big Sasha.
And smarter too.
And he agreed that this cigar is a pretty good cigar here. And so signing out. This has been podcast number 41 for Wild Theology. And thanks.
Thank you.
It's awesome. Thank you to my patrons who help make these missional travels and these podcasts possible. Without you, I couldn't do it. God bless. If you'd like to support this project, you can do so here on Patreon for as little as $1 a release. And at the most, that's $4 a month.
Why on earth would anybody want to support us?
Well, I think we're pretty cool, and maybe some people believe in what we're doing.
Oh, come on, you believe that?
Yeah.
Don't you ever think you're just a little too weird for the average person?
Yeah, sometimes.